Towards the Circular Economy. This is a webinar belonging to the Erasmus project Gamification, Digitalization and Practical Tools for Developing Circular Economy Skills, or CE+. The European Union produces over 2.2 billion tons of waste every year. New legislative initiatives on waste management are necessary to promote the shift to a more sustainable model, known as the circular economy. But what exactly does circular economy mean, and what could be its advantages? The circular economy is a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, renovating, and recycling existing materials and products for as long as possible. This extends the life cycle of products. In practice, it means minimizing waste. When a product reaches the end of its life, its materials are kept within the economy where possible, thanks to recycling. These can be used productively multiple times, thus creating additional value. The new model contrasts with the traditional linear economic model, which is based on a take, make, consume, use scheme, a model that relies on large amounts of cheap and easily accessible materials and energy. Planned obsolescence is also part of the linear model. When a product has been designed to have a limited lifespan, consumers are encouraged to buy it again. On the contrary, the reuse and recycling of products will slow down the use of natural resources, the destruction of the landscape and habitats, and help limit biodiversity's loss. Another benefit of the circular economy is the reduction of total annual greenhouse gas emission. According to the European Environment Agency, industrial processes and products used are responsible for 9.10% of greenhouse gas emissions in the EU, while waste management accounts for 3.32%. Creating more efficient and sustainable products from the outset will help reduce energy and resource consumption, as it is estimated that more than 80% of a product's environmental impact is determined during the design phase. Switching to a more reliable products that can be reused, upgraded, and repaired will reduce the amount of waste. In particular, packaging is a growing problem, and on average, the European generates almost 180 kilos of packaging waste per year. The aim is to tackle unnecessary packaging and improve its design to promote reuse and recycling. Another effect pursued through the circular economy is the reduction of dependence on raw materials. Suffices to say that according to Eurostat, the EU imports about half of the new materials it consumes. The total value of trade, imports plus exports of raw materials between the EU and the rest of the world has almost tripled since 2002, with exports growing faster than imports. Regardless, the EU still imports more than it exports, and in 2021 this resulted in a trade deficit of 35.5 billion of euros. Recycling raw materials mitigates risks associated with supply, such as price volatility, availability, and dependence on imports. This is particularly true for critical raw materials, which are necessary for the production of technologies crucial to achieving climate goals, such as batteries and electric motors. To shift to a more circular economy will also increase competitiveness, stimulate innovation, stimulate economic growth, and create jobs. An estimated 700,000 new jobs by 2030. The redesign of materials and products for circular use will also stimulate innovation in different sectors of the economy. In March 2020, European Commission presented the Circular Economy Action Plan, which aims to promote more sustainable product design, reduce waste, and empower consumers, for example, by creating a right to repair. Resource intensive sectors such as electronics and telecommunications, plastics, textiles, and construction were affected. In February 2021, Parliament adopted a resolution on the new Circular Economy Action Plan, which called for further measures to achieve a zero carbon, environmentally sustainable, toxic free, and fully circular economy by 2050, including stricter recycling standards and binding targets for the use of materials by 2030. In line with the EU 2050 climate neutrality objective under the Green Deal, in March 2022, the Commission published the first package of measures to accelerate the transition to a circular economy. The proposals included scaling up sustainable products, empowering consumers for the green transition, revising the regulation of construction products, and creating a strategy on sustainable textiles. In October 2022, the Parliament approved a revision of the rules on persistent organic pollutants, POP, to reduce the amount of hazardous chemicals in waste and production processes. The new rules will introduce stricter limits, ban certain chemicals, and keep pollutants away from recycling. Finally, in November 2022, the Commission proposed new EU-wide rules on packaging, which aim to reduce packaging waste and improve packaging design, for example, with clear labeling to promote reuse and recycling, and call for a transition to bio-based, biodegradable, and compostable plastics. In 2021, the European Parliament started discussing a comprehensive EU strategy for critical raw materials based on sustainable sourcing and high environmental, social, and human rights standards. The aim was to reduce the EU dependency on some non-EU countries and to promote the recycling and recovery of critical raw materials. To achieve an EU market for sustainable, climate neutral, and resource efficient products, the Commission aims to create digital product passports with the aim of sharing all relevant information throughout the product life cycle. In addition, there are initiatives to combat planned obsolescence, improve the durability and repairability of products, and strengthen consumer rights with the right to repair. Turning to the different industrial sectors, the Commission's action plan sets out 7 key sectors that are essential for achieving a circular economy: plastics, textile, electronic waste, food, water and nutrients, packaging, batteries and vehicles, buildings and constructions. In the case of plastics, the European Circular Economy Strategy should phase out the use of microplastics. Turning to the textile sector, it can be observed that currently fabric use a lot of raw materials and water, with less than 1% recycled. The EU strategy for sustainable and circular textiles, presented by the Commission in March 2020, aims to ensure that by 2030, textiles placed on the EU market are durable and recyclable, made as much as possible from recycled fibers, and free of hazardous substances. Measures against microfiber leakage and stricter standards on water used are also being studied. E-waste and electrical waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the EU, and less than 40% is recycled. The EU is promoting longer product life through reusability and repairability. In the case of food, water, and nutrients, it is estimated that 20% of food in the EU is lost or wasted. The halving of food waste by 2030 will therefore be huge as part of the farm to fork strategy. Packaging waste in Europe has reached record levels. New rules aim to ensure that all packaging on the EU market is economical, reusable, or recyclable by 2030. New rules are also being studied that require the production and materials of all batteries on the EU market to have a low carbon footprint and comply with ecological standards. Finally, construction accounts for more than 35% of the EU total waste. The aim is to increase the lifespan of buildings, set targets for reducing the carbon footprint of materials, and set minimum requirements for resources and energy efficiency. And this is the end of the webinar towards the circular economy. Thank you for listening.